he got the electoral votes he needed from South Carolina, Louisiana, and Florida by agreeing to return the power to define race relations to the states. The deal brought the Reconstruction era to an abrupt and painful end, as the white supremacists swooped in to fill the political vacuum. In the years that followed, legislatures in the South were free to pass laws requiring separation of the races in public accommodations, schools, theaters, transportation. In many places, interracial marriage was forbidden. With black citizens increasingly deprived of voting rights across the South, the number of black men holding elective office rapidly dwindled. The Jim Crow era, as it came to be called, named for a blackface character in minstrel shows, was also a time of intimidation. There were countless episodes of horrific violence, ranging from lynchings of individuals to massacres in various southern cities in which dozens died. The death toll would rise into the thousands. As the century drew to a close, black people in the South were virtually powerless to resist region-wide segregation and institutional racism. In moments of need, American heroes have always arisen. In the mid-19th century, Abraham Lincoln and Frederick Douglass formed a unique friendship to confront slavery. By century's end, Theodore Roosevelt and Booker T. Washington, an equally unlikely pair, emerged as the heirs of the Lincoln-Douglas partnership. Although his background was privileged, Roosevelt lived through a childhood riddled with illness that left him physically weak. At times, his parents worried he might not survive till adulthood. Washington was born into slavery, fatherless, and was forbidden an education in his early years. Despite such challenges, however, the two men became the leaders America needed, and together they confronted the forces that were rapidly rolling back hard-won rights for black Americans. Theirs is a story of triumph and tragedy, of cooperation and disagreement, and ultimately of the kind of courage that makes America great. Although their work remains unfinished even today, the progress Booker T. Washington and Theodore Roosevelt made is undeniable. Only by understanding how they worked together, how they decided when to push society and when to pause, and where their drive and determination came from, can we carry on the work of these two icons. Brian Kilmeade. Chapter 1. Born Booker. There was never a time in my youth, no matter how dark and discouraging the days might be, when one resolve did not continually remain with me, and that was the determination to secure an education at any cost. Booker T. Washington, Up from Slavery, 1901. No one could have predicted he would become famous when a brown baby boy with reddish hair was born atop a pile of rags in a slave quarter. On entering the world, that child got one name only. For a decade, he would be called Booker. Just Booker. Nothing about his arrival seemed promising. Booker would never know his date of birth. His slaveholders kept scant records on their Western Virginia farm, a few miles from Hales Ford, a crossroads town that Booker later would say was about as near to nowhere as any locality gets to be. Family recollections narrowed the season of his birth to spring, and he later guessed the year was 1858 or 1859, though, more likely, it was 1856. He never knew his father's identity. I only knew he was a white man, Booker later wrote. His enslaved mother, Jane, would never confirm the rumor that Booker's father lived on a nearby farm. Home was a log cabin, roughly 14 feet by 16, a one-room structure that doubled as a dwelling and cookhouse. Inside, Jane prepared meals for slaveholder James Burroughs and his family on an open fire. Together with his mother and older brother John, Booker slept on the floor, as did his half-sister Amanda and Booker's stepfather, Washington, known as Wash Ferguson, an enslaved man from a nearby plantation who came and went depending on the whims of his slaveholder. A crude wooden door hung on unreliable hinges. 2 unglazed holes in the sidewalls provided limited natural light and ventilation when the weather was warm, but was shuttered when it turned cold. A few boards on the shanty's dirt floor covered a deep hole in which sweet potatoes were stored.